so far after the 2023 outlook was presented in February. I have Engineer Clement Enze with me this morning. Very good morning to you, sir.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to be here.
All right, let's begin with the 2023 flood outlook. Is the summary of what you gave us earlier this year of what Nigerians should expect. You said 32 states, about 176 local government areas will be experiencing flooding and all that. Please just give us a summary of that before we go into other discussions.
Okay, thank you, viewers. As early as February 17th this year, the Nigeria Hydrological Service Agency went on air. I think that is the earliest we have done so far since 2013. We began to issue this warning before the onset of flooding season in Nigeria, yes. So by the prediction we issued, 178 local government areas in 32 states and the FCT will face a severe flooding, and additional 224 LGAs in 35 states and the FCT will face another degree, but a bit lesser degree of flooding in the course of the year. By the time this warning was issued or the prediction was made public by the former Minister of Honorable Minister of Water Resources, Mr. Suleiman Adam, rain hadn't begun. There had not been any rains in Nigeria. And that should have given ample opportunities for taking some measures ahead of time. And the other states, local government areas in Nigeria will experience maybe little or no flooding. But like I always say, this is a prediction. Human beings trying to interfere or interrogate nature. The climate change issues are there with us. Maybe some locations we may have said that it will be highly probable, like that was 8 local government areas. If that number, it might exceed it. The other 224 local government areas we said we suffer lesser degree. It might be more intensive, or it may be more intensive in some of the years. So the prediction is meant to prepare us ahead of time. And the names of those LGS were listed, and the details were made available to the other tiers of government, at least to the state government, that those LGS are located, and also in the FCT here. The documents were made available so that people can plan ahead of time.
Okay, I know we've been having stakeholders engagements the other time. The FEMA, that's the Federal FCT Emergency Agency, had its own engagement on preparation for flooding. But bring us up to speed with what is happening now. Like you mentioned, the rains are not here as expected. But what is the current situation of flooding in Nigeria? Have we had a major flooding in any of these areas you highlighted as flood-prone areas?
Yes, you already mentioned what the FEMA, FCT Emergency Management Agency, did, I think about 2 weeks ago. That is the right way to go. That once you get all these advisories, for instance, 9 Met, the local agency had gone on air 24th of January. Before NISA, the local agency, followed it up with the flood forecast or prediction in February. So we expect that state governments should take up some actions. Like the FCT Emergency Management Agency is like is the equivalent of SEMAs, State Emergency Management Agencies in the states. That they should try to downscale what has been predicted by these two agencies at the federal level. Bring in stakeholders. I was there, that of FEMA at your level, where the people from the villages or communities, actors, responders, firefighters, divers, tank criers were brought together to sensitize that this is what has been said, and then what actions they need to take. And the equipment are always made available to these people in the locals the locals rather, to prepare them ahead of time, be it a life jacket or boat and so on and so forth for rescue people in the event of any flood incident. No wonder last year, 2022, no single life was lost in the FCT. So we expect that the same thing should be replicated in the states. They have all their state SEMAs. They should be at work. Now, coming to updates, no much serious flooding has taken place for 2023. The usual peak peak period of flood in Nigeria was from July, August, September. These are the peak periods. And we're always very careful to warn the citizens that expect this. But this time, within these 3 months, rainfall has been properly established all over the country. In the far north, I think from 9 May's prediction, maybe rains will some part of the far north, sometime later this month or early July, when they will begin to experience the rainfall. So this is usually the peak period of flooding. So we are getting into it. Not much has happened so far. And by that time too, the transboundary rivers Niger and Benue that cut across 8 other countries before Nigeria, rains already taking place in those places, and everything gravitates down to Nigeria.
Yeah, in terms of preparation, like you said, from July we should see more rains and flooding. I know severally you've talked about states, governments not really adhering to these warning signals or warning signs you always dished out when you make your prediction. But tell us, how informed are these states, apart from at the national level, that we have them probably taking proactive actions? Have you gotten positive response in terms of prevention measures by states?
Yes, I think just a few states have keyed into what we release in terms of getting prepared for it. I think by tomorrow, Tuesday, that's 28th, tomorrow, the DG of NEMA, with some of his team, myself, with maybe 2 other people from my office, and then NIMET as well, will be visiting Akwa Ibom State to meet with the state governor. So he wants to get so much details about, and also we will need the state to know how far they are prepared in terms of ensuring that there will be no flooding incident. Flood will always occur, but when it is a disaster component of it, that is a challenge. So a state like Cross Akwa Ibom, sorry, is doing things that are visible already to ensure that the citizens are safe in the course of the flooding. I'm aware of Jigawa, up to the level of governor then, getting prepared so that we are in constant touch. Anambra State as well, because they know what they suffered last year. The deputy governor has been quite proactive to ensure that they do what is necessary to be done. I believe so. Lagos State, I spoke to one of the state chief executive Lagos State yesterday. They're in charge of, we call it LASEMA, Lagos State Emergency. Correct. So some states are waking up, so to say, but so many are yet key into it.
All right. Well, what about from the side of the citizens? Because when these things happen, they are the one at the receiving. What so much awareness has gone into your predictions and hard reports? We still observe that citizens do adhere to these sites, especially those who live by riverine areas, or probably those who decide to block waterways and all that. Now, what would you be saying to them while we wait for governments to do their own part?
Now, at the federal level, the predicting agencies or forecast agencies, whatever they are telling you is basically advisory. That is to say, we cannot compel you, we cannot force you to do certain things. So that aspect of enforcement of a good environment, free of refuse within the waterways, or people stopping people from staying within the banks of the major rivers. This is the work of the state government to do. Now, we will continue to advocate, apart from state governments or even local governments, individuals should take responsibility. You should be able to adhere to some environmental standards for yourself. Don't dispose of waste indiscriminately. If you drop it at point A, the runoff will carry it and go over to point B, and maybe it locked there. Then there will be backward flow. Eventually, you will be affected. So let individuals take responsibility to ensure good environmental practice. Those of waste at appropriate locations. And also, the state government should do as much as can to avoid heaps of refuse all over the places. In the course of rainy season, flood will always carry these things and go and block in some places. I know what is happening in Abia State now. The economic heartbeat of Abia State, which is Aba, had been in the dilapidation of the environment. I think the governor gave a task to one of his aides. I don't know how many months that was given to ensure that Aba is getting rid of all the heaps of refuse everywhere. If you go there as we talk, I mean, I don't know what is there now, but shortly before this governor came in, you see people on the major roads swimming, people walking by the roadsides, by the embankments or the side drainages, because the main road is already filled up with flood, stagnated everywhere here and there. So I believe too, such action should be taken by various state governors. Let us see it as a sort of state of emergency to get our environment rid of all this rubbish. And then we can help the citizens as well, those who are living within the river banks, to relocate. At least I remember some years back, around 2014, Niger State adopted what they call wet housing and dry housing. Because they know that their citizens do a lot of business, economic activities within the banks of River Niger. Therefore, they provided hostel accommodation for them upland, so that during this peak period of flood or rainfall, people will go up. They can be doing their business in the daytime. They finish, they leave that place during the season. Maybe about 2 months or 3. Life returns to normal than to remain living within the banks. At times, this flood comes at night, and then sweeps away both human beings and whatever they might have acquired over the years.
All right, let's look at the release of water or water coming into the country. You know, like I remember some time ago, you said Nigeria is like under the basin. Every water that comes from countries above just ends up in our country. But what it is like now in terms of collaboration with other countries who may have water released from their dam. For instance, we have the Lado Dam incident of 2012 and even 2022, we still had that same incident. So what's the state like now? Are we going to be expecting such, or it's like a yearly thing that more water must come into Nigeria from those countries?
Well, by the geographical location of Nigeria, Nigeria is at the bottom of what is called the Niger Basin. This is when we say basin, is the entire area or the entire catchment of rivers Niger and Benue, and their major tributaries from different countries. For River Niger, all the way from Futajalon Highlands in Guinea-Conakry, comes to Mali, from Mali to Niger to Benin. But before then, inflow from Burkina Faso that flows into Niger Republic, inflow from Cote d'Ivoire that flows into both Mali and Niger. And then that's for River Niger. And then what comes from Cameroon and then Chad. Major rivers from Chad flow into River Benue, coming from Cameroon. The total area of this is about 1.5 million square kilometers. So whatever comes from all these places end up in Nigeria at the bottom, where rivers Niger and Benue will meet at Lokoja. So, yes, with regard to the River Niger axis, we are safer in terms of having at least 2 dams in Nigeria, Kainji and Jeba Dam. Now, under the Niger Basin, or what we call Niger Basin Authority, an institution that moderates the use of the resources of rivers Niger and Benue. Now, we collaborate ourselves. It is so that before any water that is coming from Niger, once it reaches a certain threshold in terms of flood, Nigeria is usually notified. Collaboration between the 9 member countries of Niger Basin Authority, headquarters in Niamey, Niger Republic. So, at a certain threshold of the river during the flooding season, especially September, late August, then September, once it gets a certain level, we have a normal flow. It comes to orange, it comes to yellow before red. So once it's passing at the level before getting to red level, Nigeria will be notified. And also, under that collaboration, Kainji and Jeba Dams are notified. They know what they want, they are informed that this is the huge water that's coming from Niger. How they will operate their dams to be able to accommodate whatever is coming in, to avoid sudden release of water that will affect well. That's for River Niger. But for River Benue, yes, for 2012, even 2019, 2018, or 2019, 2022, Cameroon released water from the Lac de Dam. I've gone through the document. You see, these francophone countries, when we are dealing with them, there are certain things they will refuse to come clear with. For instance, people have been saying over the time that agreement or MOU signed in 2016 by the 2 presidents. Paul Biya was in Nigeria. His Excellency Paul Biya was in Nigeria to meet with His Excellency Muhammadu Buhari, GCFR. So they signed a document. But going to that document, Cameroon was careful not to commit themselves to saying, release water, we will notify you ahead of time. So there is no way in that text, that MOU is signed by the 2 countries, that Cameroon should always notify Nigeria. But what happened is that being colleagues, by that I mean like myself, I know my colleague there in Cameroon, so we exchange information that before they release water, they should notify us. If I may use the word normal. So they start to say how we review that MOU. Now Nigeria is at the receiving end, so we are the one that need them. So we intend to visit Cameroon to also see how we strengthen that MOU to ensure that adequate arrangements are made ever before any release of water from the Lac de Dam in Cameroon.
So in all sense now you're saying we are not safe from the River Niger states because we don't really have much dam to absorb this water. River Benue, I beg your pardon, yes, to absorb this water.
Yes, but the saving gate we have is that of Kashimbila Dam or River Kasenala.
Does it have the capacity to absorb?
A tributary of Benue.
Okay. Does it have the capacity to absorb much of this water?
What happens is that it contributes about 27% of the volume of River Benue. That's Kasenala River.
Okay.
So Nigeria wrote that one to reduce amount of inflow from within Nigerian rivers into the main channel of River Benue. So, but in terms of having if we control, if we operate it properly, the operation that Kashimbila Dam in Kasenala River in Taraba State, it can reduce the amount, but it doesn't do much because it is the only one or so we have a dam on. So what I'm saying, it is like a palliative measure, that if we can have dams small dams on the tributaries of River Benue that are within Nigeria, like in Taraba, in Benue, Adamawa. We can reduce what is
So
inside the
what
channel.
is holding us back? Because we're having these incidences happening every year, and we that we need dams at just these areas you mentioned. But why is it that there is no commitment inside of government to ensure that we address issues like this?
You see, to build the dam that have been envisaged on River Benue within the Nigerian catchment is not a tea party. That's in Hausa Dam, which Nigeria proposed to do several years back. When Cameroon began their own Lado Dam, they started it in 1977 and finished in 1982. It's about 7.6 billion meters of water. That's the content, the size. That of Nigeria, that's in Hausa Dam, in the local government in Adamawa State, is about 16, more than twice, 16 billion cubic meters of water. Where Nigeria ought to have built that because Nigeria had more money then. All these economic challenges we are facing today, we are not today insecurity in terms of government having so much to contend with, draining the resources we have. So to build the Dasen Hausa Dam will take a lot. That's to be built within the main channel of Benue. I know that about 2 years ago or thereabout, the Federal Ministry of Water Resources commenced review that design to meet up with the current realities, to review that design and see how far we can go to start the construction of that particular dam. That's in Hausa Dam.
All right, I must thank you so much for your time. Engineer Clem is the Director General. I beg your pardon there. The Director General of Nigerian Hydrological Services Agency has taken us through what we should, like he said, we should be expecting flooding from July downward because the rains will be gathering momentum from this period. Once again, I must thank you on the program.
Thank you.
All right, we'll take a quick break. When we return, the program this morning continues.